येन तस्मै नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So today we shall be discussing text 39 and 40 of the 5th chapter from the first canto of Bhagavad. This is the conclusion of the chapter, the concluding instructions of Narada. Himam sanigamam brahman avetya anushtitam adan me jnanam aishwaryam asmin bhavam kakeshava. O Brahmana, thus by the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, Lord Krishna, I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord as included in the confidential parts of the Vedas, then with the spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate loving service. So, in this verse, we see slowly and gradually the result of devotional service is being narrated. What a person attains simply by performing devotional service. So, communion with the Lord by transmission of the transcendental sound is non-different from the whole spirit, Lord Sri Krishna. This means that when we are chanting the holy name of the Lord, we are actually associating with the Lord. When we are hearing Krishna's pastimes, we are actually associating with Krishna. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nityamukto Abhinnatva Nama Namino. Krishna's name, his form, his pastimes, his paraphernalia, his teachings in Bhagavad Gita, they're all on the absolute platform. So, therefore, a person who's simply practicing Krishna consciousness by chanting Krishna's holy name, or hearing Krishna's glories, or worshipping the deity form in the temple, that person is actually having direct union with Krishna. In the conditioned state, a person doesn't realize it, but the association is there. And, especially hearing and chanting is the perfect method for attaining or approaching the Supreme Lord. So, simply by hearing and chanting Krishna's glories or engaging in devotional service, any of the 9 processes of devotional service, one can actually rise above the material contaminations. Material contamination means the 6 anarthas: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya. These are 6 anarthas which keep the living entity covered. The soul is pure by nature, Satchidananda, but this material contamination keeps the living entity covered. So simply by associating with Krishna through the process of devotional service, one can actually rise above all the contamination of material existence. And Krishna gradually reveals such a person. He reveals himself. And the criteria is a person should sincerely practice Krishna consciousness, the principles of Krishna consciousness, and should have unflinching faith in Guru and Krishna. Person who has unflinching faith in Guru and Krishna and continues to practice Krishna consciousness will soon, very soon achieve the mercy or the grace of the Lord. And a devotee doesn't have to separately endeavor for attaining the mystic siddhis like Anima, Lagima, Vashita, Prapti. There are different kinds of, what you call the siddhis, which a person attains by the dint of yoga practice, especially the Ashtanga yoga practice. Bestow the person with 8 kind of siddhis. Anima, for example, is to become smaller than the smallest. One can actually become very tiny and practically be invisible to anyone and everyone. Just like Hanuman. Hanuman, when he entered in Lanka, he took a form of small mosquito size. So nobody could really notice he was even there around. He could easily enter into the palace of Ravana and go around. So this is Anima. Lagima means to become very huge in size. Like Hanuman, when he was actually crossing the ocean to go to Lanka. So Surasa, the mother of Nagas, she wanted to test Hanuman. So she told Hanuman, I have benediction from Brahma that whoever goes from this route must enter into my mouth. So you cannot pass by. You have to enter my mouth because this is the benediction I got from Brahma. So in other words, you enter into my mouth and I eat you. So Hanuman said, oh, you want me to enter in your mouth? But then Hanuman expanded his size. He became very huge in the size. And Surasa, she had powers. She also had mystic siddhi. So she became very huge in size, much bigger than Hanuman. And Hanuman again expanded his form and became much, much, much bigger, like a huge mountain. And Surasa expanded even much bigger than Hanuman. So when Surasa assumed a very huge form, much, much bigger than a mountain, immediately Hanuman again became a very tiny, like a mosquito, and entered into her mouth and immediately came out. And he told her, see, I have respected Brahma's benediction. I went inside your mouth and it came out. So now you let me go. So Hanuman was using the mystic siddhis in the service of Lord Ramchandra. He could have fought with Surasa. He could have killed her also. But everywhere, using strength and killing is not required. So he used this mystic power of expanding himself into a huge size through Lagima Siddhi, becoming very huge, and then becoming very small again. Anima, Lagima. And Vashita, Prapti, there are many, many siddhi. So a devotee is automatically endowed with these siddhis. Ashta siddhis, 8 kind of mystic perfections. He doesn't have to separately endeavor for it. One time, Vishnu Ravi Thakur, he was brushing his teeth in the morning. So brushing teeth, they didn't have brushes like us, toothpaste and brush like us. In India, I remember even when I grew up, we used to use this neem stick. Small neem stick would be there, and we soak in the night time in the water. The morning we pick up and chew on it. The stick will be chewing, and it becomes fibery. It is very bitter in the taste, and then you brush your teeth with that. So Vishnu Thakur was brushing his teeth in that way in the morning one time. So he was having this neem stick, which he was chewing on in his mouth, and some of the villagers, they came because they used to respect Vishnu Thakur as a saintly person. So they came, Baba, Baba. Vishnu says, what happened? Say, Baba, there is one yogi. He has come to the village, and he is flying in the sky. He's seated on an uprooted branch of a tree, and he's sitting on that branch, and the branch is flying, and he's flying, in the sky, being seated on that branch. And Vishwanath Thakur, he actually told all the villagers, oh, that's not a big deal. Please don't bother about it. Just go on with your duty. No, Baba, you didn't understand. This person is sitting on a branch, and the branch is flying in the sky. And Vishwanath Thakur again said, it's not a big deal. Please go. Go home and do your duties. This yogi is simply trying to, fascinate all of you to get some cheap adoration. No, Baba, you don't understand. This yogi is so wonderful. So Vishwanath Thakur, he was chewing this brush, neem stick. He threw the stick on the ground, put the foot on the stick, and as soon as he put the foot on the stick, he started actually flying in the sky. He went around, put few rounds in the sky, came down, picked up the stick, started brushing his teeth, and he told the villagers, I told you it's not a big deal. Go home. This is not really something great. So all the villagers were stunned. So Vishnu Thakur, he had all the mystic siddhis, though we don't hear that he ever used those siddhis. But he had all those siddhis. So a pure devotee of the Lord, by Krishna's mercy, has endowed with all the mystic powers. And above all, a devotee is accepted in the confidential associates or the entourage of the Lord. And he's given a specific service to the Lord by the mercy of a spiritual master. So spiritual master, being merciful, he engages the disciple in the service of the Lord. Because a pure devotee of the Lord is more interested in serving the Lord than showing his mystic powers. Just like we discussed, Vishnu Thakur. He had all the mystic powers, but he never bothered about it. So Narada Muni also, he has all the mystic powers, but generally he never exhibits those mystic powers. One time Narada Muni went to the palace of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu, he was so puffed up and he was so proud, and he couldn't tolerate anyone taking the name of Krishna in front of him. So one time, Narada Muni went to the palace of Hiranyakashipu, and there was some argument between the two. And Narada Muni was saying that ultimately, Lord Krishna is the ultimate source and he's God. And Hiranyakashipu said, don't say that. In front of me, don't say that. I am ultimately God. So Narada Muni continued. He said, no, Krishna is actually ultimately the Supreme Lord. So Hiranyakashipu, he got very angry. He picked up the sword. And his sword was not an ordinary sword. It was mystic sword, full of mystic powers. So he got ready to kill Narada. And he actually attacked Narada with the sword. But he saw the sword went right through the body of Narada Muni. It was like as if he was swirling his sword through the air. And he got so amazed that he couldn't kill, not only couldn't kill Narada, but his sword couldn't harm Narada in any way. So he asked Narada, where did you get this body from, which is not subjected to any weapons? My celestial weapons are not able to harm you. So Narada Muni said, well, this is my spiritual form. You also have one. But the difference is, Hiranyakashipu, he was, because of ignorance, couldn't have the understanding and couldn't realize his own self. But he was amazed that how Narada Muni could have such a body which is not hurt by any weapons. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Nayanam Chindanti Shastrani Nayanam Dati Paha. Na Shoshayati Martam. The soul is Satchida Ananda. It can never be cut by any weapons. It cannot be burned by the fire. It cannot be moistened by the water. So in this way, Narada, though he had all the mystic opulences, he never exhibits those opulences until it is absolutely essential to uplift somebody in Krishna consciousness. So, Narada Muni has explained all these, all these from his personal experience. And Prabhupada says one can obtain all the facilities which Narada obtained by the perfecting the chanting process of sound representation of the Lord. So Narada Muni, he attained the perfection by performing devotional service. And it's not that was only reserved for Narada Muni. We can also attain the same perfection like Narada Muni by simply chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. By the process of devotional service, we can even also attain the same perfection. And there are no hard and fast rules for chanting in the holy name of the Lord. And if one receives this through parampara system, through a bona fide guru, one is bound to attain perfection. Text 40. Twamapi adbhara shruta vishrutam vibho samapyate yena vidham bubutsitam prakhyani dukkher muhur ardhitatmanam sanklesha nirvanamushanti nanyatha. Please therefore describe the Almighty Lord's activities which you have learned by your vast knowledge of Vedas. For that will satisfy the hankerings of great learned men, and at the same time mitigate the miseries of masses of common people who are always suffering from material pangs. Indeed, there is no other way to get out of such miseries. Wow. Sanklesh nirvanam ushanti na anyatha. This is actually a very significant statement, very important statement by Narada. Sanklesha nirvanam. San means use in totality. like in English we use the word pan America. So pan means complete or total. So sanklesha means all the miseries, complete, what do you call it? Range of miseries. Any kind of misery we can imagine. Everything is included in sanklesha. Sanklesha nirvana. Nirvana means to become free from. Sanklesha nirvana ushanti na anyatha. There is no other way to get out of such miseries. So what is the way? Now is being described here. Describing the Supreme Lord's activities. So the prime solution of all the problems in a material, world is to broadcast the glories of the Supreme Lord. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita the 4 categories of people. Four categories of people, they come to Krishna consciousness. Chaturvida bhajante ma jana sukritino arjuna. Artho jigyasur artharthi jnani cha bhratarashvaha. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 4 categories of people come to me. First of all, artha. Artha means those who are in distress, who are in difficulty. Then artharthi. Artharthi means, artha means money. And arthi means one who is in need of money, desperately seeking money. So that is second category. Third category is jigyasu. Artho, artharthi, jigyasu. Jigyasu means one who is inquisitive. Inquisitive to know more and more about Krishna. Artho, jigyasu, artharthi, jnani. Jnani means a person who is actually advanced in knowledge. So this way, these are the 4 categories of people who do come to Krishna. But the prime qualification also in these 4 categories is they are sukriti. Sukriti means those who are pious. Because you see, in this world, there are a lot of people who are in difficulty. But not every person in difficulty turns to Krishna. There are a lot of people in this world who are desperately in need of money. But not everyone in need of money goes to Krishna. A lot of people who may be inquisitive as well, but they don't take shelter of Krishna. So a person who is actually pious, that means who has not been engaging in sinful activities for a very long time and has been following the rules and regulations given by the scriptures, such a person actually, can come to Krishna. A person who is sinful, dushkriti, the opposite of sukriti is dushkriti. A person who is dushkriti, he will not come to Krishna consciousness. Even if he has distress, even if he is seeking money, such a person will never come to Krishna, never seek shelter of Krishna. Just give me 1 second. So as far as Dushkritis are concerned, they're also 4 in number. So Sukritis, they come to Krishna, but Dushkritis, who are sinful people, they don't come to Krishna, and they are described by Krishna also in Bhagavad Gita in the 7th chapter. And Krishna says, Namam Dushkritino Mudha. Dushkriti, they are first of all Dushkriti. Prabhupada explains, Kriti means some meritorious work. That is called Kriti. So Sukriti means who does some meritorious work in good sense. And Dushkriti means one who performs some meritorious work in bad sense. Like say, for example, a terrorist, he takes an airplane and bangs into the building, in a high-rise building. That also requires tremendous amount of, intelligence, planning, and courage. Not an ordinary person can do that. No. So it's a kriti, it's a dushkriti. It's meant for destroying others. And somebody, who goes in this space, for the purpose of research and development, taking a lot of risks, like, somebody had some time ago posted some video, somebody from spaceship jumping. It took almost like 5-6 minutes for a person to reach Earth. He jumped from the spaceship. Very, very great height. So for almost 5 to 6 minutes, he was falling, free fall from the sky. And that also requires tremendous amount of courage. Not everyone can do it. I remember, some time ago we had gone to some park, and there was 80 feet height. They were putting some hooks around our body, that imitating that you are having free fall, but you are connected to the wire. So you have free fall almost like 40 to 50 feet, but then after that, because of the hook or the wire, your fall becomes very gentle and smooth. So you don't come crashing to the ground. So I remember when we went for that, even to jump from the 80 feet height, knowing well that you are actually connected to the hook, you connected to the wire. Yes, it's not going to hurt you in any way. It was so difficult. Somebody is jumping without any hooks or wires, having parachute, but jumping from that height requires tremendous amount of courage. Not everyone can do it. So it's also kriti. So meritorious work. Dushkriti means people who are performing meritorious work. They are also very courageous, but they are only sinful by nature. They only do harmful things for everyone. Namam Dushkritino Mudha. Mudha means, so these Dushkriti are 4 categories. One is Mudha. Mudha means those who are, foolish. So here it is explained here. Those who are simply addicted to the mode of progressive fruitive work and thus are subjected to accompanying miseries. So Mudha or foolish people who are simply addicted to sense enjoyment. That's the second category. It's been categorized here as second category, sense gratification. Those who are addicted to vicious work of sense gratification and suffer the consequence. So that is Mudha. Mudha means fools. Mudha means animal. So animals means they are simply interested in sense gratification. Even if that leads them to suffering or miseries, they don't care. They simply are impelled by sense enjoyment. Like I remember, in childhood, we used to go to, Sabji Mandi. Like here we have farmers market. Similarly, in India, they will call it Sabji Mandi. Go to vegetable market, like a farmers market, and Cows. Sometimes cows would also come in that place. So somebody is selling some vegetables or fruits, the cow would come, and by dint of smelling, she would know that this is something eatable. She would put the mouth to eat something. And immediately the person who's owner of the shop, he would take the stick and beat the cow. And the cow would run away. But again, after few minutes, again the cow would come to the same shop and again try to eat. And again the person would hit her and she would run away. And again after some time she would come. So this is the vicious work of sense satisfaction. Animals actually do that. They're addicted to vicious work of sense. So similarly, people, human beings who are dull-headed like animals, they are simply interested in sense and satisfaction. And they are continuously engaged in that vicious work of sense enjoyment, as Srimad Bhagavatam says, punaha punascharvita charvanana, chewing the chewed. They already enjoyed it in the past, the same sense enjoyment, but they still continue with the same sense satisfaction. And Navam Dushkritam Buddha Prapadyante Naradhama. Naradhama means those who are very much advanced in knowledge, but whose knowledge has been stolen away by Krishna's illusory energy. They appear to be very much advanced in knowledge, but they actually don't have any knowledge. Namam Dushkritam Buddha Prapadyante Naradhama Maya Aparita Jnana Asuram Bhavam Ashrita. Fourth class is the atheistic. Asura. Asura means atheistic. So, Mudha, Naradhama, lowest of mankind. And then Maya Aparita Jnana, those whose knowledge is stolen by the Maya. And Asuras, the demonic people. So, these are the four categories of people, they never surrender to Krishna. So, Narad is advising Vyasdev here that you please describe the glories of the Lord. This will do good to all these 8 classes of men. 4 who are Sukritis and 4 who are Dushkritis. Because even Dushkritis, even people who do not surrender to Krishna, somehow or other they come in contact with hearing these glories of Krishna. Then they will be transformed. So the glories of the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra or hearing Krishna's glories from Srimad Bhagavatam is actually one of the most beneficial activity for every living entity in the world. It's not that people who were not born in India, they cannot correlate to it. No. Because everyone is part and parcel of Krishna, because everyone is connected to Krishna. So, becoming Krishna conscious or hearing Krishna's pastime and relish it is not something only reserved for people from India. Everyone can do it. And everyone will be able to relish also Krishna's pastime. So, this is the 7th substance of Narad Muni's instruction. So, Narad Muni is concluding his instruction by telling Srila Vyasdev that for the welfare of the society, he should compile Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll stop here. If anyone has any questions, you may